Hey, this is my recap of a new show, Botched. Let's see, Season 1, Episode 1, Human Dolls. So this show has Paul Nassif from a few seasons ago, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Terry Dubrow from the current season of Real Housewives of Orange County. They're both plastic surgeons. I did not think I was going to like this show. I almost didn't even bother recording it. I had seen Paul on originally Dr. 90210 and thought he was kind of a little annoying, but on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, he was insufferable. So I wasn't going to watch it, but a lot of friends were. Everyone was really excited, so I watched it, and I really, really liked the show. So it is essentially the little brother of Dr. 90210, except they only do botched surgeries. They fix other surgeons' mistakes. So I really like the concept. It had a lot of medical footage, which I enjoy. I don't know. I just really like it. So Paul is still not my favorite. I'm going to get into why, but it's a good show, and if you're not watching it, you really should check it out. So let's start off with they have 3 patients that they cover this episode. They have Justin, Michelle, and Alicia. So I'm going to start with Justin. So Justin is a human living doll. You've probably seen him, either his pictures on, various websites, or I actually had seen My Strange Addiction, and he was one of the people who's addicted to plastic surgery and looking like a human doll. He's not trying to look natural. He's trying to look like a Barbie. He's had 132 surgeries, and he's a house husband, his words, in somewhere in Southern California. I'm guessing LA, Hollywood kind of area. I don't think we met his husband, but his entire house was full of very scantily clad men, and I saw a lot of crotch, so very tiny swimsuits. They managed to work people's junk into a number of scenes, so that was exciting. Terry and Paul go visit with him. He wants to either do his own custom-made silicone ab inserts or quad calf lat inserts that he's designed himself. So he goes through and explains what he wants to do, and Terry and Paul are pretty blown away by the idea of it. Terry handles it really well. He basically says that we're not the surgeons for you. We're really dealing with people who've had botched surgeries, and you do not. And he goes, oh, okay. And we saw him throughout the episode, but he actually gets no surgery. So that's Justin. Now, Terry does perform a surgery, and that is for Alicia, who has a uniboob. So when they said that, I kind of pictured like one big breast or one kind of loaf. But as it turns out, it wasn't quite that bad, but it was pretty severe. She has huge breasts, and the skin in the center, where it would normally be attached to the sternum, has detached, and the 2 implants are more or less touching in the middle. And it's causing her a lot of physical pain and emotional turmoil to the family, since she can't care for her family the way she'd like to, and she can't wear a swimsuit and all that stuff. So they get her all ready. She's really nervous. She's really scared. She goes in for the day of her surgery, and Terry comes in and goes, I have some bad news. I reviewed the surgeon's notes. I don't know what's in the surgeon's notes. I wish we knew more. But he's decided that he can't do it all in one surgery. He's going to need to do one surgery where they just fix what's gone wrong, take out the implants, let her heal up, and then follow up at a later date with the actual implants. So she's really upset, and she kind of is like, I don't want to do it that way. And Terry's just the way I thought he would be based on what I've seen of him on Real Housewives of Orange County, which is he doesn't really fight with her. He doesn't say, I'm a surgeon, I know what's best. He just stood his ground, was very respectful, and was just like, this is really the only option we have. And kind of let her get used to the idea, and she eventually did decide that she's going to do it the right way and do it these 2 parts. So they go in, they remove these huge implants, 600 cc's, stitch from the inside. They attach the skin to, I guess, the muscle, but trying to, be careful they don't hit the lung or something, which I was a little confused on, because I'm like, aren't there ribs? But I'm not a surgeon, so let's just not get too excited here. She gets out of surgery. She's really unhappy with the size of her breast because they got rid of this huge implant. She's still pretty significant. I mean, she's still has big breasts, and her husband's like, hey, you're fine. I don't think you need any more. And she's like, no, I do. Terry says that they tried on a 350 Cece, and they showed her some pictures from when she was in surgery where they had put a temporary implant and filled it up and showed it to her. And she's like, no, I want 500. And he's like, okay, well, that's not really going to work. And he kind of ended up coaxing her down to 400, which still has a risk of this happening again because the implants were so big that they basically pulled the skin off of the bone, off of the underlying muscle. She goes in, she gets the 400s. We follow up with her sometime later. She gets to model her bikini, and she looks great. Her breasts are humongous, but that is exactly what she wanted. And she really did look nice, and they huge improvement. Now, the second surgery we saw was with Paul, who specializes in above the neck surgery. So this is really his specialty. And that is Michelle. Michelle is an actress. She does YouTube stuff. You could probably find her somewhere. She had a really bad car accident, and they had to rebuild. They had to do surgery on her nose. And when they took off the splint, her nostrils had collapsed, and her whole nose had kind of pushed in and kind of sunk into her face. And she has had 6 surgeries total, including that surgery, and they've been unable to fix it. And so this is really her last chance to fix her nose and rebuild it. Now, when I say rebuild, I really do mean they are going to rebuild her nose. They're going to remove a piece of cartilage from her rib, a piece of cartilage from her ear, and I believe they said some skin from her scalp, and rebuild that nose because the septum, all of the structure inside has been destroyed, and they need to use the cartilage in the ears to rebuild these nostrils, which right now are real sunk in, and then the rib piece to rebuild the septum. So they go in, they make a big deal about having to pull, that the calcification on the rib was really severe and that it wasn't the calcification of a 40-year-old. So I thought he was implying that she lied about her age, but we really never got back to that. So I don't know, maybe she's just unusually calcified. I mean, hey, we all got something weird going on with our body. And so he rebuilds the nose, does the whole thing. You know, of course, she's got all this stuff. They stuff up all this stuff up the nose, and they, you know, everything. She comes in the next day. She's in bad shape. She's in a ton of pain, super emotional, high as a kite, drugged up to her gills. So she kind of immediately starts in on Paul about, well, this nostril's a little different than this nostril. And this is kind of how Paul deals with it. And we've seen it on various shows, which is he immediately kind of pushes back at her. He gets, I'll say verbally aggressive. I mean, she described it as him yelling at her. I don't know if that's exactly the way, but he was not, he didn't have the same bedside manner as Terry did, in that he sort of was like, well, you need to lower your expectations, and your nose was awful, and anything's an improvement, and it kind of didn't come off. I think he could have handled the situation better. I'll say it that way. She felt like she wanted to cry, but she comes back in later, they undo it, and it's a beautiful nose. And it really is a nice nose. If you look real close, you could still kind of see some of the similarities to the nose. They didn't have a really good picture of her before the accident. But compared to the before this surgery, it's definitely an improvement. It looks really nice, and she's a very lovely woman. And I hope that kind of helps her feel like she's ready to move on past this whole, all these surgeries. So in general, I don't mind Paul as much as I did in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but he definitely has a bigger ego than Terry, in the sense that it's really important to Paul that people know that he's the expert and he is right. Whereas it seems that Terry is more concerned with having the patients choose the decision that is best for them. So he doesn't seem to get as much into, well, I know what I'm doing and I went to school, whereas Paul seems to fall back on more of that attitude of like, hey, I'm the expert and you should be grateful. Both Michelle and Alicia were at various points kind of demanding and kind of stubborn about what they wanted. Paul and Terry just handled it differently. I really like the show. I am super excited about it. It's probably one of my favorite shows. So if you watched it and you love it, hit me up in the comments and let me know why you liked it and if you agree on Paul versus Terry. I'll see you guys soon.